The ranger warned us about the midnight visitor. I didn't even want to go in the first place. I was the one who said it out loud, that I had a bad feeling about it, that I hated the idea of being that far from a road, from reception, from anything with lights or locks or security cameras. But of course my friends laughed. They called me soft. "You live in Seattle and you're scared of trees now," Carter said, cracking open a Mountain Dew and tossing the can in the fire like a dumbass. This wasn't some campground with toilets and RVs. We hiked out 6 miles into the backcountry of the North Cascades. No marked trail, just a shitty map Carter printed off some forum and a compass no one knew how to use. The kind of place where you hope a ranger passes by, but in all likelihood you're completely alone. That was the whole point. Escape the noise, Katie said. Digital detox. I wanted to tell her that she said the same thing last week while scrolling Instagram during a sunset, but I shut my mouth. There were 5 of us, me, Carter, Katie, Jess and Zeke. 2 couples and me, the 5th wheel with the REI rental tent and the duct-taped hiking boots. The hike out was brutal, all uphill switchbacks and washed-out paths. We made camp on the edge of a ridge overlooking this wide, dense patch of forest that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Beautiful, yeah, but off. I don't know how to describe it. Just still, like everything was holding its breath. Zeke was the first to bring up the ranger. We'd passed him at the trailhead, sitting on a log near the parking lot, gnawing sunflower seeds with this twitchy, darting look in his eye. Not your usual high folks ranger. His uniform was filthy. He looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. Didn't smile. Just looked at us, all of us, like he was doing inventory. Zeke had made a joke. That dude's seen some shit. We laughed at the time, but I remember his exact words now because they're burned into my skull. The ranger had said, "If you hear someone talking near your camp past midnight, don't answer, don't look, don't leave your tent, no matter what." He wasn't smiling. He said it like he was giving us evacuation instructions. We all laughed even after he walked away. "Creepy campfire story, bonus edition," Katie had said, mocking his voice. But that night, the first night, I didn't laugh. Because something did happen past midnight. Something I didn't tell the others about. I woke up around 1:30 a.m., I think. I didn't check my phone because it was dead, but my watch glowed dimly. I remember feeling this weird, acidic churning in my gut, like I was being watched. Not in a scared of the dark way. I mean that something was nearby. I could feel it in my spine. I lay there in my tent, completely still. It was silent, dead silent, no wind, no bugs, just the soft breathing of the others in their tents. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not animal steps. Human ones. Slow. Careful. Crunching the underbrush. Circling the camp. Not just walking past. Literally circling. I swear I stopped breathing. At first I thought it might be Carter. Maybe he got up to piss. But then I remembered. Carter sleeps like a corpse and snores like a lawnmower. I could hear him still snoring across from me. So then who the hell was walking around? I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I just listened. The steps got closer, right outside my tent now. Then they stopped. And then whoever it was started whispering. I couldn't understand it. The voice was low, hoarse, and wet sounding, like someone with a throat full of phlegm. No emotion in the tone, flat, robotic, like they were reciting something. I couldn't make out the words, but I swear to God the cadence sounded familiar, like they were copying something, mimicking. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep, heart in my throat. After what felt like forever, the whispering stopped. No more footsteps, just silence. I stayed frozen until the sun came up. I was the first one awake that morning. The others were still snoring. When I stepped out of my tent, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There were barefoot prints in the dirt, adult-sized, deep impressions like whoever it was heavy. They circled every tent, every single one, and they led straight back into the woods. I didn't say anything. I should have, but I didn't want to sound crazy. I convinced myself maybe it was one of the others messing around, but deep down I knew it wasn't. Later that morning, Jess noticed something else. Her boots were gone. She thought she left them outside the tent, but they were nowhere to be found. We looked for an hour. Nothing. Carter blamed a raccoon. Katie said it was probably a prank. Zeke shrugged it off. I knew better. Someone was watching us, and they were getting closer. Jess was pissed. Not like fun camping trip pissed. Real pissed. The kind of pissed that puts a crack in the group vibe and never really goes away. She kept yelling at Zeke because he was the last one to see her boots before we went to sleep. He told her to check under the tent like 4 times and she almost threw a granola bar at his face. It didn't help that we were already sore and cranky and low on coffee. Carter's stupid little propane stove kept sputtering and dying because he didn't check the fuel before we left. So we were drinking half-warm, instant coffee packets in silence, while Jess walked around in mismatched Crocs she found in the bottom of someone's pack. Zeke kept joking about Bigfoot. I laughed once, just to not seem weird, but every part of me was tense. I didn't tell them what I heard the night before. I kept thinking maybe I imagined it, like maybe I was half dreaming, but the footprints were real. I stared at them for 20 minutes that morning. They weren't there the night before. They circled our tents like an animal casing prey. They didn't belong to us. The hike we planned for that day was a steep one, up to a fire lookout that hadn't been used in decades. There was a faded trail marker, but no real path, just rock, brush, and loose dirt. We left around 11 a.m. and stashed some gear to lighten our packs. And yeah, looking back, I think that was the first mistake. Leaving our camp like that, unwatched. I kept looking over my shoulder the whole hike. It felt like we were being followed. No sound, no movement, just a presence. Something you feel in your bones, even if it's not logical. Carter called me paranoid when I asked if anyone noticed anything weird. No bears, he said. No people. It's untouched out here. That's what's so sick about it. But untouched doesn't mean empty. We reached the lookout around 3 p.m. It was wrecked. All rotted floorboards and rusted railings. Still had an old cot inside, the frame bent like someone tried to tear it apart with their hands. Zeke found an old ammo can full of mouldy MREs and laughed like it was a treasure chest. Everyone took selfies and posted them as soon as we got signal. The usual hashtags: off-grid, nature shit, Cascadia vibes. I didn't take any photos. I kept thinking about the whispering. We made it back to camp around 6, tired and scraped up. That's when we found the second thing missing, Katie's sleeping bag. gone. And this time we knew she didn't just lose it. Her whole tent had been unzipped. Not blown open by wind, not half-zipped like someone forgot. The zipper was pulled all the way down, neatly, intentionally. Nothing else was missing, just the sleeping bag. Katie looked like she was trying not to cry. "Why the fuck would someone take my bag?" she kept asking. We were all trying to come up with answers, but they didn't make sense. Animals don't unzip tents. Animals don't take sleeping bags. Animals don't walk barefoot. That night, we lit the fire earlier than usual. Nobody said it out loud, but we were scared. Not panic scared, just tight chest scared. The kind where you start noticing how dark it gets out there, how fast the temperature drops, how small your fire really is. Carter tried to keep the mood up. He told a stupid story about some kid he went to high school with who got lost in the woods tripping on mushrooms and built a shrine out of raccoon skulls. It was dumb and nobody laughed. Zeke had a little Bluetooth speaker and he put on some low, chill music. I made a point of keeping my flashlight right next to me. When we turned in for the night, I zipped my tent up to the top, pulled the hood of my bag over my face, and laid there awake, listening. And sure enough, sometime after midnight, the steps came back. This time I wasn't half asleep. I was ready. I held my breath. No movement, just that same slow stepping, circling, like whoever it was wanted me to know they were out there. I pressed my ear to the tent wall, my whole body was shaking. Then came the whispering again, but this time I heard the words, "It's warm in here, can I come inside?" The voice was flat, unnatural, like a bad actor reading lines they didn't understand. Male, I think. Deep, but off. The kind of voice where the tone doesn't match the words. Then something slid down the fabric of my tent, like a finger, just dragged down the wall slowly, right above my face. I almost screamed. I clenched my teeth so hard I thought they'd crack. I kept still, didn't breathe, didn't move. I remembered the ranger's words, "Don't look, don't answer." The whispering came again, softer this time, like someone kneeling down. "I brought your friend a blanket." She was cold. My stomach dropped. I wanted to cry. I don't care how that sounds. I've never felt fear like that. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't an animal. This wasn't some backwoods hiker messing with us. This was something else. Someone else. Then, just like the night before, the whispering stopped. But this time, I heard more than footsteps. I heard breathing. Slow, heavy breathing right outside my tent. For at least a full minute. Like they were waiting for me to move, or answer, or scream. But I didn't. Eventually, the breathing stopped. The steps faded. I stayed awake until daylight. When I finally unzipped my tent the next morning, I wasn't the only one shaken. Katie looked like she hadn't slept. Jess was dead silent. Carter was pacing. Then Katie said something that froze me in place. I had a dream someone was inside my tent. They laid something over me. A blanket or something. I woke up and it was there. But it wasn't mine. She held it up. It was not a blanket. It was fabric, yeah, but old, stiff and filthy. Like a piece of curtain or tarp torn unevenly, with dark brown stains on one side. Nobody recognized it. None of us brought anything like that. Carter tried to burn it, but it wouldn't catch. Zeke said we should pack up and go, that something was wrong. But Carter didn't want to bail like a bunch of babies and waste the whole trip. He said we should finish it out, one more night, then hike back in the morning. Zeke said no. They argued for like 20 minutes while Katie and Jess sat off to the side, holding hands. Me? I just stared into the woods, because I knew whoever it was, they weren't gone. They were waiting. Carter called it a coincidence. That word, coincidence, started to feel like a slur by the third day. He said, maybe it's some other hikers messing with us, trying to scare us off. But Katie wasn't buying it anymore. She kept clutching her arms like she was freezing, even though it was warm out. Jess wasn't speaking much. Zeke kept glancing at the tree line like it owed him money. I stayed quiet. But in my head, I was already picturing the map, the way out, every twist of the trail. I didn't care about Carter's dumb, finish strong attitude. That place wanted us to stay another night. It needed us to, and it would take whatever it could get. Around noon, I took a piss behind a tree and caught something in the corner of my eye. Not a person, not a shape, just this movement, just enough to make my heart punch my ribs. Something stepping out of sight before I could turn. I didn't tell the others. I was past the point of being talked down. We all decided to stick together that afternoon. No one wandered, no solo bathroom trips. Zeke even said, if you see something, yell. I don't care if it's a squirrel wearing a hat. We stick close. So we did, until about an hour before sunset. That's when the smell hit. It rolled into the camp like a fog, thick and putrid like something had died in the sun. Jess gagged immediately. Katie covered her mouth. Even Carter stopped trying to look brave. The stench was ripe, and it came from downwind, deeper into the woods. Don't, I said. The second Carter stepped off toward it. He ignored me. I just want to check it out, he said. Could be a dead deer or something. Zeke cursed under his breath. Why the fuck would we care if it's a dead deer? But Carter had that look. That alpha male influencer bullshit look. Like he couldn't back down now or lose face. So he walked off toward the stench with a flashlight and a stupid grin. He was gone for maybe 10 minutes. When he came back, he was pale and shaking, and he wouldn't talk. Just sat by the fire and refused to make eye contact. Jess asked him what he saw, and he just mumbled, "It wasn't a deer." We didn't push it. Later that night, when it got dark and we were sitting close around the fire, I finally asked him again. He looked at me for a long time, eyes sunken, then said, real low, "It was a bag, one of those big orange ones like at Home Depot. But it wasn't garbage inside, it was parts, like something someone took apart. I didn't open it all the way, just enough to know I wasn't supposed to see it." He looked like he wanted to puke. There was a shoe in it, like a kid's shoe, but it was full. That was all he said. After that, nobody spoke for a long time. The fire crackled and spit. Zeke passed around some warm whiskey from his flask. It didn't help. Nothing did. By 10 p.m. we were all zipped up tight. No one was brave anymore, not even Carter. I couldn't sleep. Every gust of wind made me flinch. Every crack of a branch made me sit up. And the worst part The part I'll never forget was that I wasn't the only one awake. I could hear whimpering from Jess's tent, like she was crying, quietly, trying not to make noise. I wanted to call out, but I didn't. I didn't want it to know I was awake. And yeah, it came back. This time I felt it before I heard it, like the air in my tent changed, like someone was leaning against the outside wall, breathing heavy. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then came the whispering, again, right at my ear through the tent fabric. I brought your friend something else, but he didn't want it. Then, rustling, dragging, like something heavy was being pulled through the dirt, something wet. My heart almost exploded. The dragging stopped. Then, a soft plop, like something being placed down right outside my tent flap. Then silence. No steps. No breathing. Just gone. I laid there for what felt like hours. When the sun finally started to rise and the cold air crept into my lungs, I forced myself up. I opened the tent, and right there, sitting in front of my tent, was Carter's hat. The one he wore every day, the Patagonia one, soaked in something dark, bent, crushed. He was gone. The others came out one by one, blinking at the light, and I didn't even have to say anything. They saw the hat. They saw my face. Katie started yelling his name. Zeke tried to get her to stop, but she wouldn't. She kept calling for him, running around the camp, sobbing. We looked for 2 hours. Nothing. No footprints. No blood trail. Just the hat. Like he vanished straight out of the earth. We packed up everything in 10 minutes. Didn't even finish breakfast. I carried Carter's hat in my pack without saying why. We left the camp and didn't look back. But the trail was different. It should have taken us 6 miles back to the parking lot. But the trees were thicker now. The air was heavier. There were no birds. And worst of all, there were new footprints on the path. Barefoot, deep, leading ahead of us, like something was guiding us out, or luring us deeper. I don't think we were on the same trail anymore. That sounds stupid, I know. It was the same dirt path, the same twisted switchbacks, the same terrain we came up on 3 days ago. But something about it, the way the trees were pressed in tighter, the way the sky looked thinner like it was being peeled back, it wasn't right. I remember Katie saying, "Wasn't there a river near here before?" And none of us had an answer. We just kept walking, fast, no breaks, no snacks, nobody spoke unless we had to. Even Jess, who usually had a podcast on for every goddamn thing, was dead silent, eyes scanning the tree line. And the footprints. They weren't ours. That was clear right away. None of us were barefoot. These ones were wide, long, too long, with thick heel marks like someone who dragged their feet as they walked. And they were ahead of us, always ahead of us, like someone was leading or playing with us. Zeke whispered, "He's herding us." He said it like he didn't mean to say it out loud, like the words just slipped out. Katie slapped his arm and told him to shut the hell up. But I saw the way she looked at the tracks. She knew. At one point, Jess stopped and stared into the woods for a full 30 seconds. We asked her what she saw, and she didn't answer, just shook her head slowly and said, "He was right there, standing behind the tree, watching us." I felt him. I believed her. We picked up the pace. About halfway through the hike, maybe 3 miles from where we camped, we reached the ridgeline, the same one we crossed to get into the valley. But this time, something was different. There was a rope, just off the trail, dangling from a high branch, a noose, knotted and looped, swaying gently. Nothing hanging from it, just there, waiting. It wasn't weathered or old. The fibers were bright white like nylon from a hardware store. Fresh. Katie let out this tight little sound, like a sob she swallowed too fast, and turned away. Zeke pulled a knife from his belt but didn't cut the rope. He just held it in his hand for a second, then let it go. It kept swinging after he walked away. We didn't talk after that. But here's the part that still messes with my head. We started seeing things tied to the trees, small things. Katie's missing sleeping bag cord wrapped around a branch in a perfect spiral. One of Jess's bootlaces knotted into a loop and nailed to a trunk with a rusted spoon. A photo of us, taken at camp the first night, all of us smiling. Zeke mid-laugh, Carter flipping off the camera. It wasn't on anyone's phone. We hadn't printed anything. But there it was, hanging from a branch with a pine needle pierced through the top corner, like a pushpin. None of us touched it. None of us said a word. Zeke started mumbling to himself after that, walking faster, swatting at the air like bugs were on him. At one point, he stopped dead in his tracks, turned to me, and said, "You know he's still with us, right? Right now. He's watching who breaks first." I didn't answer. We kept going. By the time we saw the old wooden trail marker again, the one from the way in, it was almost dark. It should have taken 4 hours, tops. It had been nearly 8. We were running on fumes. Jess could barely stand. Katie was limping from a blister that had torn clean through the heel. Zeke's lips were cracked and bleeding. I don't even remember feeling my legs at that point, just moving them out of pure survival. The parking lot was empty. Carter's car was still there, but the Ranger was gone. No sign of life. No signal, no ranger station. No other hikers. Just us. And the wind. And that feeling that we'd barely made it out of something we weren't supposed to survive. We piled into Carter's Jeep. Nobody touched his stuff. I drove. My hands were shaking the whole time, but I didn't say anything. It was a 3-hour drive back to the nearest town. I don't remember most of it. I just remember the silence. No music. No talking. Just the hum of the tires and Katie whispering, please to herself over and over. We pulled into the first gas station we saw. This grimy little chevron off the highway. I was filling up when the guy behind the counter, middle-aged, red flannel, cigarettes tucked into his sleeve, came out and said, "You all just come out of the backwoods?" I nodded. He looked at us, really looked. Our clothes, our eyes, our faces. Then he asked, "You all didn't camp near Old Winder's Ridge, did you?" I froze. "I think so," I said. "We were northeast of it, maybe 6 miles in. Why?" The guy spat on the pavement and said, "You ever heard of the midnight visitor?" Jess started crying, just broke down right there at the pump. The guy saw it and held up a hand. Didn't mean nothing by it, just, if you all saw him, you might want to talk to someone. We didn't ask who him was. We didn't need to. He handed us a folded piece of paper, a printout from some local message board, a grainy photo, a thread title. Why do people go missing on Winders Ridge? Warning signs locals ignore. We didn't read it until later. And even then, even now, it doesn't explain everything. There were posts about gutted animals, weird trails, tents found torn in half, hikers who walked out barefoot with no memory of the past 48 hours. One guy claimed the ranger used to be a hiker. Another said the ranger wasn't real at all. One post just said, "He whispers the truth in your own voice. If you answer, he comes inside." We never told anyone the full story. Carter was listed as a missing person. His parents think he wandered off, got lost. Animal attack, probably. We know better. We left the woods, but something followed. Last week, Katie found a piece of curtain fabric on her windowsill. Jess says she hears whispering outside her apartment door. Zeke won't return my calls. And me? Every night at 1:47 a.m, I hear footsteps outside my house. Then a voice, my voice, saying, "It's warm in here, can I come inside?" And I know one day I'll answer. I haven't slept right in weeks, not really. You ever try to sleep when your own voice starts whispering to you? Not in your head. Outside. Like someone standing just past the bedroom window, calling to you in that flat, warped tone. That hollow echo of something wearing your voice like a mask. At first, I thought it was the trauma. Nightmares. Maybe I brought it all back with me, buried in my subconscious like a splinter under the skin. But that's not it. It's not in my head. It's here. Let me explain. About 2 weeks after we got back, I started hearing it again. Not in the woods. Here in the city. Seattle streetlights. Traffic. Uber Eats bags on every doorstep. But somehow that thing, it came back with us. It started small, barely there sounds. Something brushing against the back fence at 2 a.m. A shadow outside the kitchen window that disappeared before I could look directly at it. Then came the voice. First time I heard it, I thought my phone had glitched. I was half asleep on the couch. Some old horror movie playing low on Netflix, the screen dim. I was drifting off, blanket over me, and then my own voice whispered from the hallway. "I left you something warm." I sat bolt upright, heart pounding, silence. I checked every room. I live alone, small place. It didn't take long, nothing. Dead-bolted doors, windows locked. But in the hallway, at the base of my closet door, was a rolled-up sleeping bag. The same brand Carter had, same faded green. I don't even own that kind. I threw it away, dropped it in the nearest dumpster and walked home with my spine screaming at me the whole way. But it didn't stop there. Zeke called me the next morning. He sounded wrecked, barely holding it together. Said he hadn't slept in 3 days. Said someone had left a tent stake on his pillow, dirt still on it. Said he heard his dad's voice whispering outside the window, but his dad died in 2017. He kept saying, "It's not him, it's not them, it's just pretending." And then the call cut out. Just click. Nothing. I haven't heard from him since. I drove by his apartment yesterday. Curtains drawn, mail piling up. His car still there. Katie's barely functional. She quit her job. She doesn't answer texts anymore. Just sends me these grainy, blurry photos at 2 or 3 a.m. Always the same thing. A figure standing at the edge of the street across from her building, unmoving, always facing her window. She says he speaks in her mum's voice now, tells her it's safe to come outside, that she left something for her in the mailbox. But the mailbox is always empty, except once, when she found a single fingerless glove soaked in something black. Her initials stitched inside. She burned it. Said the smell was like old pennies and meat. The cops don't help. What do you say? Hey, officer, there's a guy out there pretending to be my dead mum and he's using my voice to break my brain. They think it's trauma, PTSD, drug flashbacks. I heard the officer whisper to his partner, kids these days do mushrooms once and lose it. They didn't check the security cam footage. Or maybe they did and decided to pretend they didn't. Because if they had, they would have seen what I saw. Last Thursday, 1:43 a.m, my Ring cam went off. I opened the app. There I was, me, standing in my own front yard. Same hoodie, same jeans, just still. Facing the door, no movement, for over an hour, not blinking, not swaying. Then the me on the footage slowly tilted its head and said, "You're not the only one I followed home." Then he smiled. But my smile has never looked like that. Too wide. Too dry, like a puppet's mouth pulled too far. The next frame of footage, nothing, just the yard again. He never walked away, he just stopped being there. That's when I lost it. I started calling Jess non-stop. She finally answered on the 5th try. She was whispering, sobbing into the phone, said she was inside her bathtub with the lights off, holding a kitchen knife. He's inside, she said. He got inside, I looked. I looked when he used my dad's voice. I shouldn't have looked. I told her to hang up and call the cops. She said, no, they'll just see me on the footage. I haven't heard from her since that call. 3 people, gone, or close to it. And me? I'm holding on, but barely. I board up the windows, I sleep with the TV on, a baseball bat in my lap. Doesn't matter. He still whispers. 2 nights ago, he said, if you leave town, I'll follow. If you scream, I'll take someone you love. If you tell, I'll be you. I haven't left my house in 3 days. Food's almost out. Lights flicker at night. I haven't seen my reflection in the bathroom mirror since yesterday. The glass just shows the room, not me. I think he's waiting for me to break, to open the door, to let him in like Carter did. And I think the ranger knew. Maybe that's why he warned us. Maybe he saw it once. Maybe he listened once. And maybe that's why he looked like that, chewed up, half human, jittering on the edge of a breakdown. Because once you hear it, once you acknowledge it, you become part of it. Maybe the midnight visitor isn't a person. Maybe it's something worse. A shape, a pattern, a game. Something that slips into your head when you're far from help, when you're isolated, When you're in the kind of dark where you can't tell what's real anymore. The kind of dark that follows you home. I don't know what time it is anymore. I covered every clock in the house 3 nights ago because he likes to whisper numbers. He'll sit out there in the yard, in the stairwell, on the other side of the drywall, doesn't matter where, and just repeat times to me, over and over, like a countdown, like a reminder, like a promise. 1:47 a.m. 1:47 a.m. 1:47 a.m. It's always the same. The time he came to the tent. The time he left the hat. The time I heard myself say things I'd never say. I nailed shut the windows. Every damn one. Boarded them from the inside. Unplugged the doorbell. Stacked furniture against the front door. I don't go near mirrors anymore. Not after what I saw last time. It was 2 nights ago. I was brushing my teeth, trying to pretend it was just a normal night, just another round of insomnia. I hadn't looked in the mirror in days, but something made me glance up. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. It looked at me, that off version of me, and said, "You're almost ready. You're tired. I can help." That's when I smashed the glass. I haven't turned on that light since. I haven't showered. I barely eat. I keep a baseball bat in my lap and a kitchen knife in my hand. I sleep in 10-minute bursts with the couch wedged against the front door, and I still hear him. Every night. He's inside now. Not fully, not yet, but close. I hear him walking up and down the hallway when I try to sleep. He drags his hand along the wall. He talks in Carter's voice now, sometimes in Katie's, sometimes in mine. Yesterday he whispered something different, something worse. I showed them what you didn't. I took them where you wouldn't go. I didn't want to know what he meant, but I had to be sure, I had to know. So I made one last call. I called Katie's number. It rang once. Then a voice answered. Not her voice. Not really. Too slow. Too flat. Like she'd been stretched out and put back together wrong. She's not here right now, but I can show you where she went. Click. I dropped the phone. It cracked on the floor and kept buzzing, over and over with messages. I forced myself to look. All the photos were the same, dozens of them, one after the other. My front door, taken from just outside, each one a little closer, until the last one, the final photo, from inside, from behind me. That's when I ran, grabbed my keys, bolted, didn't pack, didn't lock the door, just got in the car and drove. I made it out of the city, took the back roads, turned off my phone, dumped it in a river. I kept driving until I hit the mountains. No GPS, no signal, just instinct. And now I'm back here, back where it started, back in the woods. I know how insane that sounds, but it makes sense, right? If this thing was born out here, if the visitor started in this silence, this black part of the map where people disappear and nobody cares, maybe this is where it ends too. Maybe I can finish it. I parked on the same stretch of dirt road where we first met the ranger. I hiked the same trail, no map, no plan, just memories. I don't even know how I found the same ridge, just followed the scent of ash and rot and fear. And yeah, I found it. The old campsite. Our fire ring's still here, half crushed like something stomped it out. Carter's hat, or maybe a copy of it, was sitting on a stump, perfectly placed, and in the middle of the sight, a tent. Not mine, not Zeke's, something older, faded, mildew-streaked, open. Inside it, folded like an offering, is my sleeping bag. The same one I left in Seattle, the one I burned. I sit here now, outside the tent, writing this, battery at 7%. No signal, no rescue, but I feel him near. I hear twigs snapping in the dark, that low, steady breath, and something else now. A voice, not whispering, speaking, louder than before, like it knows this is the end. You looked, you listened, now let me wear you. I'm not going to scream, not going to run. I came here to end it. I came here to bury him, or be buried. If you're reading this, don't look, don't answer, don't follow the voice, because once you hear it, once you recognize it, you're already his.